Another game, another loss for the Phoenix Suns. Chris Paul fouls out. Deandre Ayton fouls out. No Devin Booker. No Cameron Johnson. Congratulations, Pelicans. You've won the Super Bowl.
Hey, yeah, I thought they won it last game. That's why I really wanted to win this one, because it's like you win the last game, you get that dunk at the end. Alvarado is having the time of his life. They beat the Suns. The press conference is about, what are you going to do? You just won the Super Bowl. They basically went to Disneyland yesterday. But then you come back, Suns almost win. I just wanted to win this one really bad, especially without Booker with the foul trouble. It's like, all right, Suns are on a losing streak. That's fine. Get out of that. But I just wanted to beat the Pelicans because they are kind of just, why the fuck do they bother me so much?
Well, because a lot of their fans have targeted the Phoenix Suns as we're the team that eliminated them from the playoffs last year. You look at Nuggets fans, they're still sore about being swept out of the playoffs 2 years ago by the Phoenix Suns. So anytime you hear the Phoenix Suns play on the road in these arenas, those are games that the opposition and their fan base is hyped for. And you could hear it in the last two games against the Pelicans. You still see it on Twitter and know that when Christmas Day rolls around and we're playing the Denver Nuggets, pretty sure at home though, it's going to be one of those games that the opposition circled on their calendar. So weaknesses that the Phoenix Suns have, it's just part of the regular season. Every team's going through it. They're going against a team that's down a couple players themselves, and Brandon Ingram and Herb Jones, and they've manhandled the Suns this weekend. But you know what? It's still December, and that's the way as Suns fans you have to look at it. We're still 16-11. It's still December. Do we have a long way to go? Yeah, I think we do. But the Pelicans have fastly become one of the teams that I'm not a fan of their fan base, because you were on the subreddit last game. I was on the subreddit this for today's game, not this evening's game. And you just hear some of the shit that they say, and it's just like, and I know Suns fans, we're probably the fucking worst, but it's just frustrating to see those kind of things and hear them say kind of some of the dumb shit that they say.
Yeah, we are the worst. I think we do earn some of that kind of disrespect sometimes. I think every team, when they're winning, they act like assholes. And that's just the way it is, right? When you're winning, I mean, even in real life, you're making a lot of money, you're an asshole. You're winning in the NBA as a fan base, you're an asshole. And then we get ours in return, and that's fine. And like you said, it is early, so it doesn't matter too much. Good fight. Their bench came in, played pretty decent to make up for the foul trouble. So, I don't know, man. I wanted, it's Sunday afternoon. You have to watch fucking basketball, and then you have to come on the pod after a loss. It's just, honestly, Jamsters, it's kind of the worst. It doesn't feel good.
Rough. It's rough.
It is really rough to be here.
It's definitely rough. Well, maybe we won't go the full hour on this one, but thank you to everybody who's joining the original post-game podcast for the Phoenix Suns, the Suns Jam Session podcast. Whether you're watching along live or you're listening at another time, or you're a Pelicans fan, because that's what you do after the victories is you go to the opposition and you like to talk some shit because you're a piece of shit. Thank you for joining us if you're a piece of shit. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review while you're here. You might as well. You're here. You've put forth all that effort, so hang out with us. I'm popping open up a nice it's a Diet Dr. Pepper, Matthew. That's what I'm having today.
Okay. Oh, that's what I got too, man. Dr. Pepper from Sonic.
There you go. That's why I like Sonic. They got them Diet Dr. P's, them DDPs.
There it is.
So pop them if you got them, Suns fans. Let's talk about the fourth loss in a row, the fifth. 129-124. The Phoenix Suns lose to the New Orleans Pelicans in overtime this time. Wasn't a complete blowout, which brings me to my first question for Matthew.
Matthew, I got to ask.
Matthew, I got to ask, is it more painful losing this way or more painful losing in a blowout? Because guess what? We've experienced both to the Pelicans in the last 72 hours.
It's a little bit better today just because, you're without Booker. Of course, they're without Ingram. So if we were to win, they would say we're without Ingram. But we are without Booker. We were in foul trouble. Every possession tonight was a whistle. So it's kind of nice to stay with it. Even last game, they came back and they tied the game. You know what I mean? So they were still in it in the fourth quarter. It's just the depth, the lack of chemistry. You have an injured Book last game. Tonight you don't even have Book to help. So that one main thing of Book just not being there, it makes you feel a little bit better just because, you can still hang with this team. We still have some fight. We're not giving up because I feel like some of those blowouts before we would just give up. This game we kept fighting. Ayton kept fighting. You didn't see any of that. So no, he kept fighting. You didn't see any of the give upness. All right. They all played very hard today. And it's all right, man. I mean, they did lose, but I don't know when this losing. I mean, we play the Rockets next. That should get us out of this, right?
Yeah, you think so. We'll talk about that at the back end of the pod. But I'm with you. I'd rather lose this way considering the fight that the Phoenix Suns had in this game, because it was the same shit as when they played against them on Friday night. And what really killed the Suns on Friday was the fact that they were turning the ball over left and right. And when you turn the ball over against the New Orleans Pelicans, due to their athleticism, they're going to get out, they're going to run, and they're going to make easy baskets on the other end. And in the third quarter tonight, the Suns had 35 points, but they gave up 41 to the Pelicans. They had 5 turnovers, which led to 12 points. And it was the same story again. Now, granted, they fought back in that fourth quarter, ultimately holding them to 19 points and tying the game and putting it into overtime. But it was nice, to your point, Matthew, to see them fight. I think that once we saw that Devin Booker wasn't going to play in this game, this was going to be an L for the team. Devin Booker, even though he didn't play well in the last game, even you and I were talking about it last night. It's like, God, if Devin Booker had just played at full strength last game and not been injured, not dealing with a tweaked ankle and eventually tweaking his hammy at the back end of the game, his performance would have put the Suns in a position to win that game against the Pelicans in game 1. Not having him present in game 2, you knew it was going to be a loss. And it was just nice to see some fight from the Suns, because let's face it, Suns fans, for the past week, we've seen zero fight from this team. The first quarter, they go down against the Mavericks, they're done. First quarter, they go down against the Boston Celtics, they're done. And then when they played the Pelicans in the last game, they didn't have much fight after they gave up a ton of fast break transition points off of turnovers.
Yeah, and with Devin Booker, even in last season's playoff series, he was so phenomenal, and he got hurt, of course, in that series, and they barely pulled out. I think that is just the biggest thing, is because we don't have the shot creator. You saw towards the end of the game, and even throughout the game, when and when there was a struggle to pass the ball around, when there was a struggle to actually get a shot off, that's when you miss Devin Booker, of course, because he's the best at it. But that's the thing, is like they have to get through this. And the guys off the bench, the guys that are filling in for the starters, like Torrey Craig, Jock, they have to continue to play hard. And Jock, he's been playing better. I think Cameron Payne goes through ups and downs. You want to trade him. You think he's good off the bench when he makes his shots. He doesn't make them. It's like he's better as a starter. So that whole thing is kind of weird. There's just a lot of things that are still going around that are they're not stable. And I think that's just the way it is right now, because it's still earlier in the season. And it's just hard to just think about the future and just think like this team still has a chance. They do. They still they can make a move, and everyone wants a big trade. They might need it, but right now it's just like if they can sneak out some of these wins until Booker can come back, that's all you got to focus on, man.
Well, they need to sneak out wins until Booker comes back, but they also need to sneak out wins until James Jones makes some transaction to improve this roster, because that's what I'm taking out of this weekend more than anything. Is you take a look at the New Orleans Pelicans. They're young, they're athletic, they're long. The Suns are old, meticulous, and short. I mean, we're not a long team. We're not an aggressive team. We're an old team. And we looked at tonight. And we looked at when we played against this team in the playoffs last year, where they were running us off the court. And they realized, like, oh, shit, we just got 7 seconds or less. The Suns get out and run after every possession. They can't keep up with us. When you got Dario, Chris Paul, and Torrey Craig out there as 3 of your 5 guys, guess what happens? You get run off the court at times. That's what happened tonight, and that's what happened in this brief little weekend series against the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, that being said, we're going to start with the big news of the day. Obviously, there was no Devin Booker. He's got the hamstring pull, which, quick question, does he only pull his hamstring against the Pelicans?
Yeah, and you know what? I think I know which play it was, and it's sometimes I just want to say stupid, cover your ears, stupid fucking book. for trying too hard on defense, because he always goes so hard on the Pelicans on defense. It's something where he just like extends himself in a weird, awkward position. I'm like, every time I see that, I'm like, I think he did something. And that's always what happens, dude. He just goes too hard sometimes whenever he turns the ball over, tries to get back on defense, tries to make a play, and he gets hurt. That's how he always does.
That's what happened last year in the playoffs. He was on a heater, turned the ball over. It was a fast break opportunity for the Pelicans, and he was trying to, block it from behind and overextended himself. Then he was out for the next 4 games, I believe it was, in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And that's what happens when you play a team that's young, athletic, and wants to run. Devin Booker has that mentality. Hey, I'm a young buck. I want to get out and run too. But he's just not used to it because that's just not the way the team plays. We've talked about it with Cameron Payne starting at point guard, that you're going to see an increase in pace of play, which we saw during the time in which Chris Paul was out for his 14 games. But Chris Paul's back. The offense is a lot slower relative to pace. And Devin Booker is not ready to get out there and just start running fucking wind sprints. And that's what the Pelicans are going to have to do sometimes. So sometimes you just got to turn the ball over and just say, fuck it. But what Monty Williams chose to do in his stead was start the smoke break.
The Saric smoke break.
21 minutes is what we saw out of Dario Saric as he played the power forward position today. Torrey Craig was moved to small forward. Mikal Bridges got it started at the 2. But Saric was 2 for 8 from the field, 1 of 4 from beyond the arc. He had 3 assists, 3 rebounds, 5 points, couple turnovers, couple fouls. Thoughts on that strategy? Because in theory, what you're doing is you're saying, hey, we're going to put our power forward against your power forward. Your power forward is Zion. We got Dario Saric. Fuck.
I mean, yeah, but then you have to think, like, who's even going to start him anyways? And at first I'm like, this is going to suck. And it looked like it was going to suck because you had Dario trying to take him off the dribble. But then Dario kind of had his way. He was doing a little Steph Curry out there in the corner, hitting those corner 3 or the one corner 3. Before that, he actually did take him off the dribble a little bit. But him and Ayton, they look pretty cool together, dude. Him, Ayton, and Chris Paul, they were running some screens, some double screens. So they had some good spacing out there, finding each other. Of course, it takes some time. And that's what Chris Paul loves, is the way the offense was happening in the first quarter was very slow. Just get some screens going down in the paint, find some spacing. Then there you go, Saric. There you go, Ayton. You're open for a little jump shot. That's what was happening. So it looked pretty decent. So in the first quarter, I was like, oh shit, this sucks. I don't want to see this because this is going to be bad. This game's going to be over quickly. But then I was like, oh wow, this is actually working out. And then that was it. Basically, the rest of the game, you didn't see much of Saric. The whole start kind of worked out, but the rest of the game didn't really pan out, of course. You can only do so much with him. You had some good plays, but it's not enough to where you're just like, all right, this is something you rolled out in the future. But I kind of liked watching him and Ayton play together, dude. It just seemed like Ayton was so comfortable with him. Like they trusted each other and they found each other. It wasn't something that lasted through the whole game, of course, but it was just something that lasted for that time being in the first quarter where they actually got out to a bigger lead, which they needed. And I thought it was a good start, honestly, and just kind of just vanished. Didn't happen again.
Yeah, I thought it was a good start too. And that team really had, with Saric out there on offense, another connector. And that's the plus of having him out there. Somebody who can pass the ball, somebody who can get open from 3. And what happens is when he gets open from 3, the defense is like, oh shit. And they start to run at him and he makes the right pass down to Ayton. Ayton was feasting out there with Dario Saric assisting him. So I'm not opposed to seeing lineups where Dario Saric is out there, especially against a big front line. And that's what the Pelicans have. And that's what they did on defense. Essentially what the Suns' plan was, okay, our power forward is not going to guard your power forward. No one can guard Zion, but we're not going to put Saric on Zion. But we're going to have DA and Torrey Craig kind of take turns at Zion. And that's what we saw during the minutes in which they both shared together. Obviously, one of the challenges was a lot of those kind of ticky-tack fouls called on Deandre Ayton. He ends up fouling out in this game. But I'm with you. I think that when I first saw the lineup and the starting lineup had Dario Saric, and I was like, oh, fuck, we're going to get cooked out here. But as that first quarter happened, and you got to remember, the Suns outscored the Pelicans 36-29 in that first quarter. A lot of that came because you had Dario Saric as a connector on this team. Dario Saric dishing out. He had an assist in that quarter. He had 5 points as well. That's where he did most of his offensive damage. And to your point, Matthew, we really didn't see it anymore as they primarily used Torrey Craig as the 4 moving forward in this game.
Yeah, and dude, when you're when every possession's a foul and every time Zion does, charge into the lane, they're calling fouls. It's hard to keep anything consistent because you have to worry about the fouls, but then you have to worry about who's going to body up Zion. But to tell you the truth, like we can talk about who else we can put on Zion or who else can stop him. Ayton's not going to. He can. No one can. So that's that's the answer. No one can. You just have to hope for the best where he might lose the ball or maybe he can tip it out or else maybe the ref doesn't call a foul. But every time he gets in the paint, it's going to be a foul. And I was just thinking, like, can they just change the rule where the offensive player, if he initiates contact at first, then the defensive player can still use contact. But like, of course, if it's like something that's harsh, going to the rim where it's a total swat of the arm, something that's a foul, but just let them play. Like it's the offensive player that's going into the defensive player. So how is that always going to be a foul for forever? Because it's hard to watch. I love Zion, but a guy that's just this talented, just going to the free throw line all the time, it's so fucking boring. So if he's a guy initiating the contact, it shouldn't be a foul every time because he's the one bulldozing those guys over. It's so fucking boring. I can't wait to be done with basketball.
I know.
I hate all this.
I know. It's so frustrating to watch. And you're right. And by the letter of the law, that's what it should be. It is the guy who creates the contact should be the guy who's called for the foul. And we've seen it called. It's just so damn inconsistent. That's always been that's my issue with Alvarado, right? Because he literally jumps into guys and he's screaming as he's jumping into guys and throws the shot up. And they're like, oh, he clearly fouled him. It's like, yeah, but he jumped 2 feet into him in order to create that contact. And Zion is somewhat the same way. Again, I don't have a lot of frustrations with the total number of fouls called that were created on contact on Zion. He only had 7 free throw attempts in this game, and a lot of those were at the back end of and ones. In my opinion, they should just be no calls. There's no foul there. It's just a no call. It's like, listen, he's jumping. You look at the back end of the game where Torrey Craig went towards the ball or went to the rim, and you notice if you're watching it from the side, you notice Valanciunas didn't go straight up. He went up and then down on him.
Exactly.
And that's
glad you brought that up.
That's a foul all day long. I mean, if we were to do that to Zion or anybody, that's a foul. And you see that. And again, it comes back to the same thing that we talk about whenever we have this game. It's just the sheer inconsistency of some of these foul calls. And again, hanging out on the subreddit stakeout, I mean, it was comical in the third quarter. We're like, oh, it looks like they're finally going to pull the whistles out. I'm like, what do you mean finally pull the whistles out? You guys got like 6 and 1s in that quarter.
Yeah.
Finally going to pull the whistles out. I mean, it's all they're doing is blowing it on the Suns. And again, that's what happens when you play a team that has a Zion. It's almost the challenge is he's really hard to officiate because of his quickness, because of his ability to create contact, and because of his ability to finish through that contact. And I think the Suns, again, for the most part, did a really good job in that first quarter because they forced him to pass out a lot. They were creating a wall. I mean, he had 8 points in that first quarter. He was 3 of 3 from the field, but he was having to pass out a lot as well because the Suns were putting that wall up between Dario Saric, DeAndre Ayton, Torrey Craig, and it was more of a linear wall that he couldn't split. But again, great players got to figure it out, and he's a great player.
Yeah, that always happens. Even if you think like your team figures something out, like either they adjust or else like the refs will actually adjust. And like the second half, you'll just start hearing whistles. But all game long, I feel like it was whistles. And if you think like, hey, like they're not calling any fouls, all of a sudden the refs go into halftime and they'll start talking about, let's start calling fouls on this or whatever they do in halftime. I don't even know if they're real people. I think they actually just go in there, they turn off these controls on them or something. They just shut down and recharge or something and come back out. It's insane. I just really quick though. I can't understand a game like this where we have these exciting players and we just have to always have a break in between with these fouls. That's fucking,
what happens when you
wait
play
to get a
the
farm.
Pelicans.
I want to be done with this. I want to get a farm. I want to be done with the internet. I want to be done with all this shit, dude. Having to deal with basketball, man, because it can drive me crazy with these Diet Cokes and make me feel bad.
I'm telling you, man, don't drink the corn. Stay away from corn. Don't be a corn farmer. You're allergic to that stuff. It could hurt you very, very much.
Yes,
no, I get it. And, it's funny because one of the challenges we have by doing a post-game podcast after every game is sometimes we carry the emotion into the pod. And there's certain nights where I'm pissed off about the officiating. Tonight's one of those nights where you are like, I'm more pissed off on the officiating the other night than I am on this one. I really am because I think it's just because Avocado was out there flopping around in the last game that we saw, and he didn't get a chance to in this game. He didn't get a chance to. They called him for his bullshit, and he was out of the game. He's offensive foul, running into players, doing stupid stuff. So, I mean, I think that, again, it's frustrating night in and night out to watch officiating, especially through the lens of a Phoenix Suns fan. This is an interesting statistic. This is So Says Jay put this on Twitter, and pretty much he said there's been 13 games this season in which there's been a free throw disparity of 20 or more. Okay, so that is to say one team shoots 20 or more free throws than the opposition. 13 times it's happened in the NBA. It's happened 4 times to the Phoenix Suns. No other team it's happened to twice. 4 times it's happened to the Phoenix Suns. So essentially, that's every 7th game we get a game in which the opposition just shoots 20 more free throws than us. That's why we, as Suns fans, we feel like we're beat down from an officiating standpoint, because we're a team that attempts the 28th most free throw attempts in the league. And then every 7th game, the opposition's being allowed to be physical, and we can't be physical. We're literally not allowed to be physical. I mean, the challenge that I did have in that third quarter, and even Dave King was saying it on Twitter, was there was a lot of fouls where it's just they were very soft. They're quick swipes. No one's making contact. There's the one where Torrey Craig jumps up and then like backs away, and they go. I forget the guy, Najee Marshall, goes around him, lays it in. They're like foul, and it's like.
Yeah, so I remember that.
You know what I mean? And like Eddie Johnson's so right. It's like if you get a challenge, you should have another challenge, because if it's constantly going on, you know, it's just. And again, the frustrating thing is then you go on like the subreddit for the Pelicans, and they're like, Suns are soft, Suns flop. I'm like, if the Suns flop so much, how come they don't get any fucking calls?
They don't. Flopping is when you actually get calls. Like I think that's the definition, is when you flop. Well, to flop is to actually fall on the floor backwards or you know, sideways, whichever way you want to go, and then get the foul. We don't get the foul calls, and we're not aggressive. And there's some calls tonight where it's just like it's a foul for sure, and then it's going one way for Zion, like you said, and it's not going for Craig the other way. No one is treated equal on the court at all. When it comes to foul calling, it's never equal. When you have a game that's going to go down to the wire, it's always a team that can get to the line is going to win the game. That's why this is so fucking frustrating. And I'm not saying like, I think that the Suns, a lot of games just don't even try to get to the free throw line. That's just the way they are. And I'm not defending the Suns. I'm just saying that the NBA sucks watching this kind of shit, where it's just, you're watching these plays that are great, but then they end in an and one like all the time, or I'll say end in a foul, and it's just stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. And you just want to see some kind of flow to the game. It seriously, to me, it just seems like a waste of time. It's like, I can just watch this on my computer and be more fun, right? Seriously, that's how it just drives me crazy, man. I just think the NBA has a huge issue. They're always going to have this issue. Every sport has this, and I just can't stand it how we still talk about fouls after every pod. Watching football, same thing. It's always one call that screws a team. So you have Dick Lambino, whatever his fucking name that comes on in football, where he's saying that's not a catch, and they're saying it is a catch or something. It's like, then what's the point of this? Why are you coming on here telling me that he didn't call the right call? Like,
you're talking about that Texans play, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
the Texans play. Yeah, we're deep.
Yeah, I actually wanted them to lose today.
Sam Blanflino comes on. He gives you 13 reasons why it's not a catch, and the guy on the field's like, after further review, it's a catch. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's like, what? Why don't you just tell him that? You know, aren't you like the head of like the CIA, or what is that guy? What does he do?
He's a consultant now. He just sits. You see that one with Mike Pereira?
Yes.
Where it's like he doesn't realize he's on. He's like looking off to the side, like licking his lips.
Like licking. Yeah, dude. What are they doing in that room?
He's like tongue fucking the intern on live television.
Yeah, it's all green screen behind him, and then there's just like a big orgy happening behind the green screen. What is going on?
All of a sudden, you see like an arm come up, and you're like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, like on It's Always Sunny, where they go through the screen when they remember when they go to the apartment and they're having sex, and then they come right there. Right?
I like what AJW says in the chat. He goes, "Or we get a call, then it's overturned for some BS. Abnormally extended his legs." You mean he shot a fadeaway and then was clipped? I guarantee you, if that was Ayton guarding CJ, it would stand.
Yeah.
That
was bullshit call. That was bad.
It was, and that changed the game. So for those of you who are listening and didn't watch, and you come to the Suns Jam session because you know what, you were busy on a Sunday afternoon, you went down to Schnepp Farms and you were hanging out with your family and your loved ones rather than watching a Suns game. Essentially, what happened is, the game is 123-120 in overtime. The Phoenix Suns are trailing the New Orleans Pelicans. Chris Paul shoots a 3, and we've seen it happen to Devin Booker where he gets called. It's called on the court, a foul on Zion for running into him the second time he did it during a 3-point shot. and they called the foul. They overturned it, stating that he abnormally extended his legs into Zion. If you look at it, it's like either that's a no call or it stands. It's not an overturn, because I've seen a lot less be overturned. But of course, it's an overturn. Suns don't get the 3 free throws. The Pelicans go on a 6-0 run. At that point, it's 129-120. In overtime, the game's over. And again, it comes down to, it's just like, it's just frustrating. It's frustrating to watch this kind of basketball time in and time out. And a guy who had to pay for a lot of this tonight was the Juice.
What's up?
Torrey Craig looked like he went like 7 rounds with Mike Tyson at the end of this game. Because, again, the one challenge that Monty had to use is when they called a defensive foul on Torrey Craig, where Zion Williamson turned the corner and just ran right through him. They called a foul on Torrey Craig, and finally Monty's like, this is bullshit. And they overturned it because it's clear as day. What Zion does is he puts his head down like he's a running back, and he goes through people. And if you aren't just standing there, feet set, and he runs into you, it's a foul on you. Like you said, Matthew.
Mm-hmm.
It's a foul on you for literally existing. And even when you are planted, like Torrey Craig was in this instance, it's a foul on you until it is overturned, and then you don't have a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, the abuse this guy takes every night, though. Zion, of course, he's quite the load to handle every night when you're not really a true starting power forward. It's a lot to take in, to the gut, to the chest, and he does a fucking great job. Where I love Craig so much, where he just doesn't complain, he just does his job, and he's always there in the end, making big plays still. Whether he hits that 3 at the end of the game to keep it close, to tie the game, I forget if it tied it or if he took the lead. If he's making that shot, awesome. If he's not, he's doing everything else you want him to do. But just seeing it on paper, it's like, oh, Craig against Zion. Even though you're starting Saric, you know it's always going to be Craig and DA in the game, and then Craig's going to have to take him on. It's like, damn, dude, that's going to be tough. But he puts up a battle. He does the best that he can do, but I feel like anybody really can do against Zion, and that is to try to take the charge, maybe flop a little bit.
I don't know if he flopped on that one, man.
I'm just saying. I know. I'm just saying.
800 pounds of Zion coming at you, like,
yeah. How do you even flop? Because that's quite the mismatch there. So I think when you have Craig out there guarding Zion, man, I don't even know how he makes it through a full game without getting concussed, without losing an arm or losing a boob. Something has to fly off, dude. Yeah.
No one was more frustrated that was going to overtime than Torrey Craig. He's like, shit, 5 more minutes of this shit.
I knew they were going to lose too. I was like, dude, come on.
You know what I mean? And then shout out to Till D Legend in the chat. Thanks for showing up, you nerd. Let's go, Pels. CP3 is a dirty player, Zion MVP. It's good to know that after the Pelicans win, you go to Suns podcast. We appreciate your support. Hit the thumbs up while you're here. We really care, or we really don't give a shit about what you have to say about anything. I do. Oh, okay. Yeah. Tell me more. Tell me more. Another thing I want to talk about in this game is Mikal Bridges, man. I got to give some love to Mikal Bridges, but I also have to take some of that love away. The Warden in this game ends with a total of 27 points. He was 10 of 23 from the field, 5 of 13 from beyond the arc. He had 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. He had 19 points in the first half. So he had 8 in the second half / overtime. So Mikal Bridges, I was much akin to the majority of Suns Nation. We were excited to see him taking those shots and hitting them. He was Euro stepping into my heart in that first half. 19 first half points, the most in his career. And then he just kind of faded away, right? Like faded away, faded out of the game. And I don't know why. He's the one who, with Devin Booker, being one of the essentially 4 starters who didn't get a chance to play the entire game in this game because the refs bailed out our other 2 and CP3 and Deandre Ayton and Cameron Johnson's not playing. So knowing that we're down from the beginning of the game 2/5 of our starting 5, Mikal Bridges came and provided the offense that we needed to fill the gap of Devin Booker, and then just kind of got on my bad side in the second half. I don't know. Where'd he go?
I don't know, but yeah, he is
too damn skinny.
Yeah, Coda Kid does say he is too damn skinny. He does always disappear. That's one thing he does, game in, game out. You see him have this start, you're like, all right, let's go, man. Those are great looking shots. He has some spacing. He hit a corner three. It's always nice, but he disappears in a game where you need him to step up. And I don't know what it is, but you have to get it through to his head. We have to do the thing where we did at Ayton. Like, you got to be tough, man. We need you to step up in a way where you never have before, where you're consistent. You're getting 20 points a game. Just try. Just get those shots off. He had some nice looking shots that wouldn't go in too towards the end of the game a little bit. But I just think when you're talking about Mikal Bridges, he is a defensive he's an offensive defensive player, but there's just something where he is kind of just too small for some teams. And I think this is one of the teams where he kind of gets abused in some ways. He just there's a lot of mismatches there. Whatever he does defensively is always going to be good. But in games like this, he will always disappear. He'll always be the guy that is just kind of like played out of the game. Kind of like a Chris Paul who did hit the game tying shot tonight, but kind of gets played out of the game. Too athletic, too fast. It's just too much to handle. It sucks to say though, man, because I feel like Mikal's kind of been this way. I never could understand how to watch his game offensively because it was always so hot and cold all the time. But it's just like, I don't know. You can't count on him, man. You just can't. You can't count on him to show up in the end. And I don't know what that is.
He's got to learn to finish with the left hand. I think that's big because he likes to come across from the right to the left and finish with his right. It's like you got to learn to finish at the left because he left some easy points out there. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the first half gave me a lot of hope when it comes to Mikal Bridges because he does have a good offensive game. And who knows, maybe over these next few games with Devin Booker being out, he can work on that and work on getting more comfortable with being the guy who has to take the shots. Because ultimately, 23, he took the most shots in this game. It was him, then DA with 18, and then Cam Payne with 14. Those are your top three shot takers in this game for the Phoenix Suns. So he's going to have that opportunity to take a bunch of shots. I want him to keep taking them. I want him to stay engaged as much as he can offensively. And I know it's tough considering he's got to take the best player on the defensive end, but he didn't tonight. I mean, he was on CJ. Zion's the best guy on this team. So again, this is one thing to be looking at, and I know that we'll definitely observe here on the jam session is how Mikal Bridges responds over these next few games, knowing that he's going to be somebody who we're going to rely on from an offensive standpoint. And again, 27 points. That's a damn good. I'm not knocking Mikal. 27 points. Hell yeah, dude. Let's go. That's what we need from you. But it was very top heavy. It was very front of the game. It should have been a little bit more in that second half, but you can't ultimately fault him. And another guy,
he had 27 points.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He had 19
I thought he had like 13
half.
points, dude.
19 in the first half.
Okay.
Yeah. 19 in the first half. Thanks for listening to me when I talk, Matthew.
You're welcome.
Deandre Ayton, man, dude, 28 points, 12 rebounds on 13 of 18 shooting, 5 assists as well, a block, a turnover, the 6 personal fouls. He looked fantastic in this game. There was no answer for Deandre Ayton. Just unfortunate. Once you saw this game was going to overtime and you knew that he had fouled out, you're like, shit, because he's a bucket anytime we want against this team because he owns Jonas Valanciunas. Valanciunas is too slow. He does play physical, but he's a little too slow to guard Deandre Ayton. And that little baby hook that he's got going right now is damn near unguardable. It's lethal. The only one who can stop him from that jump hook is himself. And what do you think about those highlighter kicks he had? Those yellow highlighter kicks he was rocking.
Oh, they're very nice. Honestly, I didn't notice them. I'm sorry. I should have. They're highlighted. How did I not notice them, man? You know why?
He's playing for the Jazz.
It's because I was watching it on my computer screen, and it was kind of blurry the whole time, kind of so I didn't really get any detail. I couldn't even tell if a shot went in, really. So it's like kind of like watching the old pornos when it's like all blurry and all of a sudden a booby would pop out.
You're like,
oh, did he make that? Dude, DA was awesome. He has that spin hook thing he was doing tonight. He did it twice. One went in, one went in. The other one went in and out. That looked awesome, man. He went across the lane, left side, right to left. Quick spin, a lot of space, and it looked good. I want to see more of that. That was sick. A great game tonight because he did finish strong. Even though he did foul out, he kept playing. He didn't let the fouls bother him because it is a bullshit thing where you want to watch Ayton, you want to watch him play against Zion, 2 number 1 picks. You just want that to be a thing. All right, they're staying here in the West because this team, they already hate each other. You have Zion and Ayton, which should be an awesome matchup. And you have refs that take him out of the game. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, every foul was not a foul, of course. And I'm not going to sit here and argue that. But I'm just saying, refs, let them play. Let's just have a game, man. No one can guard Zion. Okay, we get that. But just don't call a foul every fucking time he just barely touches a dude who's ramming his shoulder into him. I don't understand that. You want DA to finish because maybe this is a Suns win. Because he was fucking amazing tonight. He played like he did last game, but he continued to fight. He continued to try to finish the game out for the Suns, but the refs took him away from us, guys. I'm sorry, man. It's like having your Christmas present taken away, right? It was just devastating.
It was tough, and I think that he did a really good job also passing out of a lot of things. Again, he had those 5 assists. I mean, he was spraying the ball all throughout the court, and I think that, again, he too is going to be somebody that we're going to be keyed into on as Devin Booker misses some time with a left hamstring injury. Is DeAndre Ayton, how he's performing, and knowing that somebody's got to put up points for the Suns, and it can be him, and it should be him. I think that he was so unstoppable in this game.
What about the Ewing effect or whatever? The Booker being out, because if Ayton would have won this game,
Ewing theory.
First
up, runner up. If Ayton has as much touches as Luka and Shai, he would average 30 plus easy. Yeah, no shit. Like, he's not a point guard. So, I mean, yeah, duh. Ewing theory.
You're a little brutal today, huh?
I'm pissed off just like you, man. Like, the Seahawks are losing, and they're my pick in the picker.
Are they losing still?
It's 20-17. Carolina has the ball. The Sun, like you said, watching the Suns lose on a Sunday afternoon just kind of sucks. So I got a little.
Yeah.
I'm spitting some nails a little bit.
Careful, James.
Ewing theory. There is no Ewing theory because they lost, so I won't even go into that. Had they won, we could have had some Ewing theory.
Yeah, maybe.
I'll touch on it briefly during the subreddit stakeout. That's what some of the Pelicans fans are saying. It's like, hey, look, the Suns are better without Booker. It's like, no, they're better without injured Booker. Okay, like,
yeah, he was killing them last game.
He was killing them last game because he was hurt.
First quarter, third quarter.
Yeah, when he was taking his shots. And tonight, the Phoenix Suns knew they had to come out without their primary scorer and were dishing the ball around and getting everyone involved. And they looked like a very quality basketball team. But ultimately, turnovers hurt them in the third quarter. They had a hard time catching up. They finally did. It's the same thing. It's the same story. But then you take a look, you take a step back from all this bullshit. You go, they're 16-11. They were down Devin Booker, Cameron Johnson. Jay Crowder's still not with the team. There's a ton of things going against the Phoenix Suns right now. They're on game 3 of a 4-game road trip. They play in Houston on Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. So, I mean, there's a lot of things. Do we want them to go win? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, it's going to be okay. Just keep telling myself. It'll be a little okay. Sorry, runner up. He says, a little salty. It's a war, not a battle, bro.
Don't leave us, runner up.
Yeah, don't leave us.
Sorry.
Hit like while you're here. I'm sorry, runner up.
I'll be nice to you guys.
I'll try to be nice. Let's see if I can come up with another drop to. Here we go. Let's do this guy.
Jesus, this is a nice limo.
Yes, it is. Now suck my
Jock Landale.
Jock had some good energy in this game, especially at the front end. The way that the Phoenix Suns were playing, they were matching the energy of the Pelicans. And that's one thing you have to do is you have to match their energy. He played 20 minutes. He was 4-7 from the field. He had 8 points. He had 7 rebounds and 2 assists in this game, and also a pretty nice block. I like what I saw from Jock in this game. I hope it's something that, again, it's somewhat sustainable moving forward. But, I'll tip my cap, and I'll be light and cheery and breezy about Jock. Oh, Jock. What a great game by Jock Landale, Matthew. What a great day. What a great day to be a Suns fan. Jock Landale, 8-7 in 20 minutes.
He started the game great for the Suns because in the first quarter of the last game, they got out to a pretty good lead, but then they would just kind of let up when Chris Paul was out. Every time Chris Paul would leave, the Suns would play like crap. So Jock comes in the first. He looks good. He was getting some buckets on the rim. He did have the Nance dunk over him, but then it's weird. The little quick thing about Larry Nance, does he not get away with every technical? He does so much shit on the court where he points at somebody and he steps over Craig.
He stepped over Craig and kicked him. He was kicking him.
He dragged his
foot over him while looking down at him. No, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said Larry Nance was driving me crazy because, after the dunk on Jock, he pointed and yelled at him. Had a son done that, Devin Booker's done that. To D'Lo last year. Remember, he dunked and he yelled, and they're like, technical foul. You can't have emotion if you're a Phoenix Sun. And, but Larry Nance is out there kicking guys while they're down, pointing in their faces, and they're like, that guy's a fucking competitor, bro. Put him on the line. Let him shoot another one from the line. And one, bitch.
And you might think, like, if Pel fans are watching us, like, oh,
I
you're
don't
just
care.
complaining. No, but if you watch the Suns, dude, we get called for
Yeah.
everything. That's the one thing is
Everything.
we can't have any emotion out there. Otherwise, it's a foul. It's a technical foul. So that's what drives me nuts. And speaking of emotion, you got it back from Jock. I feel like the last few games we really haven't talked about him because we need him to match that energy off the bench. It hasn't been there, but like maybe 5 games ago when he came in, when DA needed that energy. Ever since then, he's kind of been just whatever, but some plays were good, some plays were not. It's always like he's always just so close to like kind of connecting a play on offense, but then he just kind of fumbles the ball away. But you just like him with his positioning tonight where he was under the basket, making sure that he making sure that he was actually there. Because I feel like he just wasn't really there before this game. He just hasn't been there for the Suns, and they desperately need him. And that's why we have him, to match that energy off the bench from the other teams. But now he's kind of back. He had some shitty plays tonight, but I think overall, 80% of the game, I feel like he did a pretty good job.
Yeah, and you know what? Some of the Suns fans are calling it out. AJW, just Jock had too many turnovers and a few dumb passes when he had a dunk. Yeah, he had that wide open
He
dunk.
had some Ayton plays, yeah.
Yeah, he had some Ayton,
yeah.
some Ayton plays. B says Jock hurt us. Yeah, he missed some bunnies today too. You know, again, I said he was 4-7 from the field. The 3 that he missed were like wide the fuck open.
It's so weird hearing that. Like, it's just because I feel like he played good, but then he did hurt us. But you're just asking too much from him when he's in a position where he has to like contribute towards the end. He's not going to be that guy. I don't count on him to do that. Do you? Sorry,
I don't.
What were you saying?
I don't. And the Panthers just scored again, so now I'm even madder.
Oh my god! Can someone else finish this pod for me?
It's 27.
I don't want to be here.
Oh,
I don't want to
man.
be here.
I'm
man.
gonna lose in our eliminator challenge after 14 weeks with $2,500 on the line. Looks like I'm gonna lose. Wow, what a day! The other thing that I had in my notes for Jock is much akin to what you said, Matthew. He was a rim magnet tonight. He was positioning himself down low. He was just putting pressure on the interior, and that's the primary thing that I want from Jock is just run down there, use that hustle, and don't allow them to kind of be lackadaisical on defense. Get down there. Get close to the rim. If we get an entry pass, great. If not, you've at least extended that defense to the point where it opens it up a little bit for the guards. One of those guards being Cameron Payne.
Here comes the Payne!
Oh, Cameron Payne. I have such a schizophrenic relationship with this guy. 6 of 14 from the field. 17 total points, 3 assists, 3 turnovers, 2 of 5 from beyond the arc. I'm sorry. 2 of 5. I wanted to trade him in the first half. I did. I was so pissed off at Cameron Payne because he just when the Suns were successful in that first quarter, 36 points, the ball's whizzing around. They're snapping it around the perimeter. They're hitting the interior. DA's hitting it. Jock Landale's coming in. He's getting some points. Bridges hitting threes that are wide open because of the ball movement. Then Cam Payne comes in the game, and every time he gets the ball, he's got to like drive and throw up a shitty shot or shoot a 3, or the ball dies with him. I was so frustrated. It was a black hole. It's like seeing a smaller Kelly Oubre out there, both left-handed, mind you. And then the second half, he comes out and he hits a couple of 3-pointers. I was like, okay, here he is redeeming himself. But ultimately, he can't consistently be this bad, man. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
He was playing so much better as a starter. And now I get it. There's that adjustment of wanting to be an impact player because you've been an impact player for 14 games. So you're going to try to do too much. And this reminds me of last year Payne, where he was trying to do too much coming in off the bench. And because he's trying to do too much, he's not getting anything accomplished. And unless he's hitting all these shots, you know, he's not really productive. And again, 17 points. So again, it's a schizophrenic relationship because at the end of the day, you look at the box score, he contributed 17 points. He had a big 3. He does have some plays that were really beneficial to this team. But man, sometimes it's just, I get so frustrated. And that's the reason why he's a backup on this team.
Yeah, like B says, I am very conflicted too because when he was a starter, he was so good at passing the ball around. Like he made some nice passes to DA. And then all of a sudden off the bench, you just hope that he's a streaky shooter that he can come in and get you 8 points in the third, where he did help in the third. But in the first, when he comes in, like he's a -5. The team was playing so well. Then he comes in and just does a terrible job. when he starts to do those layups where he knows he's gonna miss them, where he just goes up and he
just
knows
does them anyways.
He underneath the backboard, behind the backboard. I don't know where they end up, but it's like these quarterbacks taking like a sack on 4th down. It's like, it's the weirdest thing. It's like he's just kind of gives up on the play and it's over. And he's just like, I'm just not going to bring the ball up. I have to drive. Just take the ball back out and restart, man. It's not like it's a shot clock
pass
violation.
it to somebody.
You have 10 seconds, man. Or yeah, but there's a big difference of him coming off the bench. I don't know what it is because he is a different player starting. He's a player that you want to keep, you believe in, that you just like, you kind of back him up when people are talking shit. Like, no, look at him. He's doing great without Chris Paul. Then he comes back off the bench. It's like, all right, well, I don't want him on this team anymore because it's costing us. That's all it is. And then 17 points still, but at times it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Because the way we're looking at it is like the points look good, but like Mikal, it's like, where are you? Why are you not making the plays when you need to? But also, why, Cameron Payne, are you making these dumbass plays that are costing us? Like, you don't have to do that, man. Slow down a little bit. You don't have to be the guy to go and try to make a bucket every time. If it's not there, I don't understand what that is still, dude. That needs to get through to his head, dude. Just pass the ball out.
Pass the fucking ball. And then on the other side, you have Landry Shamet, who is also part of, like, remember back in 2000 how we had like Backcourt 2K? It's Jason Kidd and Penny Hardaway. This is like Backcourt 20 or 2K22, where I'm just confused and conflicted on who these guys are.
All I can say is Sham.
He doesn't get the wow. Shamet in this game is another one of those guys who, you take a look at the final box score. He was 2 of 3 from the field in 13 minutes. Didn't play a bunch, right? He had 3 steals in this game. He had 5 points. He also had a block. No turnovers. But I still feel conflicted when I watch this guy play because I feel like he ran a lot of possessions into dead-end possessions and how he's just not making the right pass. And it's Backcourt 2K22, man. I'm just lost. I'm conflicted on these two guys.
Well, there's a play, I think it was towards the end of the 3rd quarter, where they had 2 seconds to shoot the ball. And, he passes it off to Craig, and Craig's not really ready. He thought that Shamet would shoot.
He's like, he's going to shoot it. Yeah.
And then, like, those kind of plays, it's like, dude, you can't still do that. Like, no one does that anymore. Like, you've been in a funk for a while now, but also the biggest thing with this bench is, like, they're not feared at all. Like, you're talking about Cameron Payne
that's a fact.
And Shamet, where they can carry you to the 3rd, where they were combined 13 points, which was good. They did carry the Suns right there. But also, like, I just don't see a fear in them. I don't feel like teams really care. I don't think they care if
on either side of the ball.
No, yeah, there's just something there. It's just like, oh, okay, they got 13 points. We can stop them next quarter. Doesn't matter.
But remember back to our finals team 2 years ago where it was Cameron Payne and Javon Carter and Langston Galloway and the other guy. And when they came in, like, you knew you were going to get, like, Javon Carter on defense and Cameron Payne on defense, just being a pest, being our Jose Alvarado, being our guy who's just going to be in the shorts of the opposition and making them earn every point. And you just don't see that anymore from anybody from our second team unit from a guard perspective. Josh Okogie, yes, but I consider him more of a wing than a true, guard. So I feel like between those two, it's really frustrating to watch. I like what B says. Like, when it's clicking, it's thrilling. When he isn't, referencing campaign, it's depressing. And that's both of them. And we're getting a lot more of that depression lately. Obviously, the team's losing. But to your point, Matthew, they're not scary. They're not scaring anybody.
No, they get too overwhelmed in the situation. Like, if the Pelicans are coming in and they have their bench out there and they're coming in, they're going on a little run, it just seems like they get too overwhelmed and they don't pass the ball around as fluidly. But then they also just have, like, some stupid turnovers. They'll just not make the right decision at the right time. And that's what's scary to watch, is because you have to trust these guys. You know what I mean? If you're going to play a team that's going to be in the playoffs, a championship contender, and you're coming down to minutes where there might be foul trouble, you might need some help coming off the bench, then you just can't count on these guys. That's how I see it, man. You just can't count on them right now.
No, 100%. You can count on Damian Lee, I feel. Josh Okogie, you can count on defensively. And what that tells me is both of those guys are expendable. And at some point, James Jones has got to look at both Cameron Payne and Landry Shamet as expendable assets and try to do some semblance of an upgrade. And it's not Colin Sexton. I'm telling you that right now. All right, let's talk about what happened in the subreddit for the New Orleans Pelicans.
The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout.
So there I was hanging out on the Pelicans subreddit. So frustrating place to be if you're a
Love the
Suns fan, but
wigs,
you gotta stay low, right? So they don't know you're there, and just downvote everything. I do so much downvoting when I'm on the subreddit.
Chris, especially like today, dude.
I'm a troll. That's for sure. So one of the first things that they said, guarding Bridges feels like it might be a good idea at some point. And again, that's considering how great he was in that first half, 19 points in the first half. So there was a little bit of love for Mikal Bridges. Next up, Jock Landale, worst haircut in the NBA. It's like it's worse than Trey.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, he's got that thing going on. I just don't know what it is, but when they're saying
thinning.
when they're saying that Trey Young has worse, or you have worse hair than Trey Young, like, you need to listen, dude.
That's not the first time we've heard that too. I feel like this is the second subreddit where someone said that.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's traveling through the NBA. I'll tell you that. This sounds insane, but I think the Suns are actually better without Booker. They take more time, they're more patient, and when the offense runs through CP, they just look better. Okay.
No, well, at times, of course, when Booker's on the floor, we always have times where he's not playing, right, during the game, and they look good.
Yeah,
but we need him at the end there. You can see what happens.
We should say the same thing about Zion. You guys look so much better without Zion, party.
Or with Ingram, they're 6-0 without him right now.
Yeah,
or 7-0.
They might as well just trade us Ingram.
That was my prediction, right, as a trade. So,
well, I wrote in my notes when it comes to the Pelicans, there's two things I wrote: Ingram Ewing theory, and Zion shoots free throws with his foot on the line. Those are my two Pelicans that I wrote.
I'm surprised Chris Paul hasn't pointed that out.
Yeah, I know. He's got to like point down, like, hey man, like, look where his foot is, man. It's clearly on the line every time.
All right,
more subreddit. Ayton has never missed a goddamn mid-range shot. Ayton's touch around the rim is crazy. Ayton can just feast on us all day. I don't know why they don't feed him every play until we figure out how to stop it. Sounds like Suns fans.
Yeah, and someone said, like, if he had as much touches as Luka, he would get 30 plus. Tonight's a game where you just give Ayton the ball, let him win the game for you. That's why I was so frustrated last game with him, because I thought he had a chance and he just didn't do it. But tonight he needed the ball and they didn't give it to him.
Well, and he also had 6 fouls.
He also had 6 fouls.
He wasn't allowed to do anything. Jonas ain't worth a shit on defense or offense against the Suns. Got me asking for Willie Herman Gomez. Get in that motherfucker. And I think he finally came in the game. If I pull up the stat,
did he?
Yeah, he played 1 minute. Willie
Hermaphrodite. Oh, there he is.
Hernan Gomez.
1-11, yeah.
Hernan Gomez. Yeah, he played 1 minute. I'm a big Nuggets fan, but a Pelicans sympathizer. I'm cheering so hard for you guys to humble the Suns. You guys have one of the best young cores in the league and a good coach. Jealous as fuck about that last one.
Was us 2 years ago. Everyone was saying the same thing about the Suns.
I know.
Everyone gets so sick of these teams that win, man. It's just.
Well, the other thing is they need to humble us.
We've been humbled twice.
Do the Suns really need to be humbled? Let's talk about this. When have we ever won anything? Ever? I'll wait. We eliminated Denver 2 years ago. You're still sore about it there. You Pelican sympathizer there. I got to go to this subreddit and talk about how I sympathize. The Suns need to be humbled. I'm so happy for you guys. I love you, coach. I love you, young Cora. Get the fuck out of here. And this is
I don't know what to say, dude.
I'm on one. I'm sorry. This is where it took a turn. So you were doing the subreddit on Friday, right? Same team, same subreddit. This is something I did not see coming. They go child porn 3 back to flopping.
Whoa! Okay.
Here comes the child predator. Their nickname for CP3 is child porn and child predator.
Why? Because of the Kardashian link?
No, because of CP.
Yeah, I understand that, but that's kind of harsh calling someone a child predator.
I know.
Dude. That's like
what the Pelicans.
You
got to remember the thing about New Orleans, the team that was yelling like Chris Paul sucks when he got fouled out of this game, the team who booed him every time he had the ball in this game. This is where he started his career and was for a long, long time and actually put them on the map. If Chris Paul hadn't come to New Orleans, they probably wouldn't have a franchise there.
They don't remember that. I
They
don't think a
don't.
lot of those fans. I don't think they even knew he played for not the Pelicans, but the Hornets at the time.
The Hornets. They call him child predator 3 and child porn 3. So
But you can't say that.
fame, he remembers them yelling, Chris Paul sucks, and chooses to put on anything. Be a Rocket, be a Clipper. Don't be a fucking Hornet. Fuck them. They don't deserve you. And then the last thing I had, surprise, surprise, they overturned the call, referencing the Zion Williamson charge. Fuck Monty Williams and his bitch ass whining. Interesting.
He whines, huh?
Yeah.
He's pretty silent for a coach.
I know. The biggest whiner in the league, ladies and gentlemen. Per the Pelicans subreddit, Monty Williams.
The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout.
All right. Who's that guy? Who's hanging out here?
Dude, those wigs, that was a nice one, man. I'm telling you, Jamsters out there, right? He looks good in wigs. He's a good looking wig guy.
Imagine if I actually had hair.
I think everyone looks good with the hair, though, right?
I wouldn't know. I'm a bald guy.
Jam star of the game.
All right, Jamsters, this is a reminder. Subscribe, rate, and review. Give us a thumbs up if you happen to be hanging out with us right now. And let us know who your jam star of the game is. Matthew, who is your jam star of the game?
Oh, it's Ayton, man. It is definitely Ayton.
100%. I agree.
So sad about this one, dude.
Yeah, I it would have been really nice to pull this one out. But yeah, it's
I
got
just
to
want to
be
watch it.
got to be DeAndre Ayton. Got to be DA. And therefore, in honor of DA, the Jamstar segment's brought to you by DraftKings.
You looking to make some cold, hard cash? Visit the DraftKings Sportsbook app, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can bet just $5 pregame moneyline on any NBA team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Check this out. Right now, everyone can earn up to 100% boost with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. Who doesn't love a good same-game parlay? Download the app now, sign up with code TBPN, place a $5 pregame moneyline bet on any NBA team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. That's code TBPN, only on DraftKings Sportsbook. Win enough money, and who knows, Jamsters, maybe we can buy the franchise from Robert Sarver.
All right, next up for the Phoenix Suns, the Houston Rockets on Tuesday. Revenge game or not?
Yeah, it's a revenge on just the league right now. We're treated as shit. Everyone thinks we're soft. Everyone thinks that we have no business being back in the finals ever again with this team. Just go on with some ass, dude. And just really quick, dude, it does suck watching an Ayton game like this, and you just have to worry about fouls. Like, that's just disappointing as any kind of NBA fan. Like, it's just stupid shit. I don't understand that. But, yeah, I don't know, man. Just fucking win. Let's go. I know Ayton's going to have a huge game. He definitely is this game.
He should. Against Sengun.
Yeah.
We shall see. We shall see. Yeah, it should be a win, but I don't know what to think anymore. One thing I want to talk about before we get out of here, we were talking about in the last podcast about Julius Randle. The NBA Central on Twitter tweeted out today, New York's asking price for Cam Reddish appears to be a second-round pick or a player on a rookie contract with a different skill set per at Steve Popper. So all they want is a second-round pick for Cam Reddish. Thoughts?
No.
Why?
Because I don't watch him. I don't even know.
I don't want Cam Reddish either. I was kind of going back and forth with a couple people on Twitter today about it because they're like, "Oh hell yeah, man, we can get Cam Reddish." I'm like, dude, like, there's a reason.
Can you imagine the fan base though?
Yeah, but there's a reason why the Knicks are willing to get rid of him for a second round pick. He's not any good. That's the why.
We had hope before.
We had hope before. He came out of Duke. I think he was the number 4th overall pick. Let's see. 10th pick. Wow, I wasn't even close. He was the 10th overall pick out of Duke, right? It was him, RJ Barrett, Zion, that draft. Thus far this season, playing with the Knicks, he's averaging 21.9 points per night. He's averaging 8.4 points, 1.6 total rebounds, 1 assist, 1.6 personal fouls. So he's averaged as many fouls as he has rebounds. He's 30% from beyond the arc. He's 44% from the field. He's a guy who I feel is, if you want to talk about continuing to have like a finesse team, he's it. Like, he has no physicality to him. He can't shoot. He can't score. He can't rebound. Like, yeah, you give up a second round pick, but you're getting somebody back that you can't trust to put in any minutes because he can't give you any of the things that you want or need. So for those of you who want Cam Reddish and you see that price, like, you can have him. I really don't want him. The big warthog, he goes, isn't Reddish a decent defender? Horribly inefficient on offense, though. Yeah, we have that. It's called Josh Okogie. Why would we want 2 Josh Okogies now? Just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Especially if that's released, like, hey, we got Reddish, like, everyone would be like, what is going on? We need this and this and this. You know what I mean? So it'd just be a very big negative in both ways, just having him on the court, I feel like, in that organization, and also just the fans being like, we need something else. So let's start winning some games, man. And by the way, I didn't wear this to be a douche. It's so cold in my apartment, man. I was in 2 jackets today and a blanket, just hanging
Turn on
out.
the heat, dude.
No, I'm not turning on the heat.
You fucking listeners, I
can't
swear to
afford
God.
that.
What
I can't
is it?
afford it.
Like, turn it up to 72 and be comfortable. It's like
No,
65 in my house.
I like
all
the
time. I'm
cold.
like freezing.
I
It's
like this. I like it.
Turn it up. Turn it up. All right, I'm going to go get turned up, considering the fact that the Panthers are up 30-17 with 1:56 left. So that's over. Dude. Congratulations. I hope you win all the money. That's over. The Suns lose. At least I had Venezia's pizza today for lunch. That's delicious pizza.
That sounds awesome. I'm going to do
really
some pizza,
good.
I think.
Yeah, it's really good. So on that note, Jamsters, thanks for hanging out with us, even after the Suns lose their 4th consecutive game and their 5th in 6 games. We appreciate you hanging out with the Suns Jam Session podcast. Make sure you follow the show at Suns Jam on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Make sure you like, rate, subscribe, all that fun stuff. We're part of the Basketball Podcast Network now. So if you're new to this pod, sorry, we haven't won one since we joined the
yeah, we're not in a very good mood. All right.
Follow me on Darth Voida for some depressing tweets. Follow Matthew Lissy on Twitter for no tweets. And on that note, Matthew, tell everyone what they can go do.
Go home and love your family.